Hi, Stuart Bruce here, and I am the Spare Time Property Investor. In these podcasts, I'm going to share tips, tricks and lessons that I've learned and will hopefully help you, especially if you're still working the 9 to 5. Hi and welcome to this week's episode of the Spare Time Property Investor podcast. Today I'm joined by Kristina Castellina, a full-time property investor, but fear not, we talk about when she was a part-time property investor and how she managed to transition into being full-time. We also talk about her different strategies, her history as a performer, as a singer, and how she is now helping other people as a mentor. So really interested, really wide-ranging, so I really hope you enjoy this episode. Before we get into it though, it would be fantastic if you could share the episode or give me a 5-star review, whatever you can do to help me spread the word, and also go and check out the free monthly newsletter. I've had messages from a few people now saying they've signed up, so that's really cool. But without wanting to waste any more time, here is the interview with Kristina Castellina. So thank you so much, Kristina, for coming on to the podcast. So first off, it'd be great if you could introduce yourself and give us a little bit of a background.
Okay, so full name, Kristina Castellina. I am married and should be calling myself Kristina Edie. Okay. I've been married for like nearly a year and still introduce myself as Kristina Castellina. So this will probably happen till I'm 90.
Did you take the surname? Or?
Yeah. And I'm just in I took his name, but I'm in absolute denial about it.
My wife didn't take my surname, and I'm really glad because she's got like a bit of an exotic kind of sounding surname. So I'd much rather her be Lara Betzina rather than Lara Bruce. It just doesn't have the same ring to it.
Oh, Lara Betzina is so nice.
Yeah, it's good, isn't it? Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, mine's Kristina Castellina versus Kristina Edie. So I've stuck with Castellina, but legally.
Good. Yeah, it's
So a little bit about myself. So my background is I'm a professional singer and full-time property investor now.
Great. Well, very exciting.
I'm full-time, but there's all sorts of things I do really.
Cool. Okay. So going back then, so when you were still working as a full-time singer and you were starting off and kind of developing and getting your portfolio bigger and bigger. So that was your main kind of source of income at that time, was it, the singing? Yeah,
absolutely. It was my main income stream, I would say, and that's what I had always done as well. So that was sort of my career really, was a singer. So before property, I would go away on contracts and work on cruise ships and in shows, and so I would take a contract and totally devote myself to that contract, and it would take me away from home and all of that stuff. So I was really like committed as a singer. And it's only when I'm from Blackpool, and it's only when I moved back from Blackpool and I made a really conscious decision that I didn't want to travel anymore, and I didn't want to, not abroad, I didn't want to go on a cruise ship and just be gone for 9 months. I didn't want the lifestyle anymore. So I sort of, made roots and decided I was going to actually stay somewhere. And it was at that point then I started to build other businesses.
So was that one of the kind of the factors when you were thinking about let's build a business, because you wanted to stop traveling so much and you wanted to have those roots? Is that one of the things that kind of catalyzed that decision?
Yeah, it was lack of security was just a massive problem for me.
Music, or moving around and stuff like that.
It's just the absolutely no stability, and just always that feast and famine type of lifestyle of you have a really good get a really good contract, earn loads of money, and then be out of work for a few months and never really know where the next job is going to come from. But also, not only that, it's quite depressing in terms of it gets easier as you get older in one way, because you have more contacts, but then it also gets harder because you're older and there's all these like young, beautiful, gorgeous performers coming out that are like willing to work cheaper because they're so new to the industry. It's all that. So you've got these things in your head where it's like, am I going to do this when I'm 50? Really? Am I going to do it when I'm 50? Probably not. Don't want to do it when I'm 50.
I think it's one of those things as well. And I'm sure you've seen and worked with people who are in their 40s, 50s, and they're still, doing it, flogging that horse. And it must
Wow.
seem, yeah.
It was like one of the biggest eye openers doing panto, because I was like, every time I've done panto, I've always been cast as like Snow White or Sleeping Beauty and all that. So, but there's always the older characters in the panto. So there's always like the Wicked Witch, and it's the only time I'd really work with older people in the industry.
Yeah.
And it always would really, really surprise me how I would always notice how tight they were with the money. And it's because it's because they were still living that, not student lifestyle, but almost they were still living the lifestyle I lived, but they had kids and grandkids, and they were still living in that same way of being really tight and worrying about money. And it was all the same things, but they were far too old to have to be living like that, I thought.
Yeah. And I said in the emails, my kind of, I was a musician for years and years and years, and I completely recognise that, people being flat broke when they of an age where they should not be flat broke, and that was one of my kind of wake ups when I started kind of thinking, Christ, I can't do that. I can't do it. So yeah, no, I totally get that. So it must have been really difficult. So you were obviously, you're away a lot of for a lot of time in kind of blocks. So over your contracts, you're away from your home, and you're doing all that sort of touring or on a cruise ship or whatever it was. So how did you find time to find properties and learn about property investment?
So at that point, by the time I started property, I decided to stay home, and I didn't take any contracts away. So I committed to being somewhere. And I mean, during the time that I've built my portfolio, things changed, and I actually went back on the road. But as a speaker, once I'd got my portfolio to a certain size, I then started speaking on property seminars, which took me away again. But it was a totally different experience, because instead of going away for 3 months or 9 months, I had to be away for 5 days.
Yeah.
And then it'd be like once a month I'd go away for a week, or they'd send me to Singapore and I'd have the best time of my life for a week, and then I'd come home. So it was like it was different. So I got like my kicks out of the excitement of going away, but I always I was always home in a week, which is like perfect for me. So to begin with, when I started obviously building the portfolio, I was just home a lot, and I just really focused on what I was doing, and I spent my time very wisely.
No, it sounds it. And obviously, like we were saying before we got going, you're very used to doing those late nights. You're very used to doing weekends, and not being bothered about doing a 9 to 5. You're very flexible about how much and everything you work. So it sounds like you really crammed it into that kind of period. By the sounds of it, yeah,
I did. Yeah.
So when you were doing that, then, so when you kind of decided and you kind of settled down and you started really digging into it and learning, so talk us through the kind of transition from doing the talks and the singing and everything like that, from doing that kind of weaning yourself off of those income streams to the point where you went full-time into property. What kind of steps did you make along the way to go full-time?
Do you know what? So the singing, it was really funny, because I did it. Everything that happened, I think I was so busy building that there was, some people, when they've got a full-time job, they have a set date where they leave work, and it's like the big moment. I never had that, because when I was singing, I would take gigs.
Yeah.
And all that happened for me is that I took less and less gigs, and I moved away from Blackpool and I moved to Liverpool, which made it much harder to gig, because my contacts were in Blackpool to do shows and things. And all sort of weaning myself, I guess, was just, I just said, I'm not working weeknights anymore, and I don't want to do Sundays, and then I just do a Saturday night singing. And then I got pregnant, and I remember taking a gig on New Year's Eve and not realising how massive I'd be at the time when I took it. I was like, I'll be able to, oh yeah, it's due beginning of March, that'll be absolutely fine. And then I rocked up to this gig looking like I was about to give birth. It was absolutely hilarious. I was like bouncing around on stage. It was pretty horrific actually. My vocals were amazing though for some reason, because some people say you can't sing as well when you're pregnant, but I was on form that night. That's the last time I ever performed, and I never
Really?
made never performed since. Like, I mean, I perform all the time in the kitchen to the kids,
Well,
but
yeah.
you know, like being paid, and that was 3 years ago. But there was I didn't know at the time that would be the last time I'd sing, and it probably won't. I probably will go and do
Yeah, I was
another
just going to
gig.
say, actually, yeah, I was just
Yeah,
going to say,
I
I
probably
bet you
will.
will get back out
Yeah,
there,
I will.
but
It's
not
only
have to rely on it for an income, just more for
yeah,
the love of it.
exactly. And so yeah, it wasn't like I went from like a full-time income stream as a singer to nothing. I just slowly weaned myself off it, and then I just never went back to it and didn't think anything of it. I didn't think, oh, I need the cash, because at that point the portfolio was sort of sustaining what I
Yeah.
needed, really.
And I suppose as well, because like we were saying before as well, you're used to that kind of feast famine sort of cycle as well. So having those gaps between the contracts and the gigs and stuff, that you were pretty comfortable with that anyway. So that kind of transition where you're weaning off it, even though you didn't really realize it, you were just taking a few less gigs here and there, and it just naturally happened, which sounds
And
very
all that
like
and
quite
all
nice
that
in a
happened,
way.
it was really nice. And all that happened is I realized, if I ever need money, and the thing is, people think when if someone says how many properties you've got and you give them an answer, people assume that if you're in property you're loaded. But actually, I just think if you're actively growing your portfolio, you always feel like you need more money, because you're buying houses, so there's never enough. You always have that feeling of, oh, if I had a little bit more, then I could leave more in deals, and then I could, you just think in your head, there's a never ending figure that you want, really. But what I learned quite quickly is, if I did need, I wanted to treat the family and go on a lovely holiday, I started thinking, well, how can I make it in property? And instead of me gigging 7 nights a week and coming being absolutely knackered, I'd just go and find a deal, and I'd do a flip, or I'd source a deal, and I just instead thought, I want to make X amount of money, and let's be smart about it. What's the quickest way I can make that money right now? And it would always be in property, and that's just how I did it. I just made my money in property using different strategies.
And you make it sound so easy. It sounds like you really kind of taken to it, and you do you do a few different strategies then?
Yeah, I do loads of different strategies.
Okay, so you're not
Yeah.
one of those people who kind of adheres to that thing where you just do one thing, become a master of it, and just kind of cookie cutter, repeat, or
Well, I
you do a little bit of that and then kind of just pick and choose little as a deal. If it looks good, kind of go for it, or how do you decide?
So I started with HMOs and got 5 back to back to back.
Sorry, someone's just
um,
ringing me.
got 5 back to back, and then realised I didn't really like them very much.
Okay.
And then I need some stability in the portfolio. And then I did exactly as you said. I did just do buy to let, cookie cutter, buy to let, buy to let, buy to let.
Yeah.
And that's all I did. I focused on buy to lets, and I would just do 1 flip a year, just to.
Okay.
Yeah, so it was literally really, really simple. I just do buy to let, I do the odd flip. And then if I would find a buy to let that didn't quite suit me, because it would be leaving, the return on investment wasn't quite right for me, but I knew it would suit some of my other investor friends, I started then sourcing the deal on using my builders and things. And I just stuck to that for a good couple of years. That is all I did. And then when I got to a point where I was really comfortable with the income from the buy-to-lets, then I started playing with, service. We've got 8 holiday apartments, so went into that, a bit more commercial stuff. So it was only then I really diversified.
So yeah, that sounds great, and the kind of mixing of it as well makes a lot of sense to me, and that's something we're kind of looking at the moment. Is kind of trying to get more of a mix, because we're really focused on HMOs, but at the moment we're struggling to find the right deals. So yeah, we're kind of looking at more kind of kind of strategy, you know, buy refurb, whatever you call it, the buy refurb, refinance repeat sort of thing. So no, it does make a lot of sense, having those different strategies you can kind of really key into. And there must be a lot of deals that come across your table, your desk, that you kind of think, oh no, that doesn't work for this strategy. But no, like you're saying, you could kind of you know, source it onto a friend, or you know, flip it or whatever. And why not? Why not if you've got those skills? Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. So, okay. Have you been doing any projects during this kind of, well, 2020? It's taken up most of it now, the kind of coronavirus lockdown, and then the second lockdown and stuff like that.
Yeah, we've been doing deals all throughout, but most of them were agreed prior to COVID, and COVID hit and we were like, oh God, we're in the middle of loads of projects, and we've just, you know, managed to make our way through.
Yeah. And how have your serviced accommodation, how has that kind of fared throughout the lockdowns?
I mean, it's not ideal, to be honest with you. It's not ideal. There's no other way to say it, really. We've got 8. I think if we had, and as well as our true holiday apartments, 6 of them are on the seafront. It's a tourist destination. People go there on holiday. They're near Blackpool. That's what people go for. They were, you know, the whole setup is for tourists. And so we purchased them back in October. We kept them as they were through Christmas, started the refurb in January. We had bookings to open at Easter, so it was quite a strict schedule for building anyway for the refurb. Then COVID hit. Well, actually, my builder had a heart attack and had a quadruple heart bypass. I know, nightmare. So we got another guy in while Phil sort of oversaw it while he was recovering. So that slowed the project down. Then COVID hit. Phil's then vulnerable because he's had a quadruple heart bypass and his immune system's low. So he's, you know, not wanting to go in and work with the contractor. So the refurb for a time, you know, when they first said stay at home, don't go to work, and no one really knew, you know, people just didn't go anywhere. For a few weeks, the whole refurb came to a stop. Then they started picking it up a little bit, but they couldn't get materials, and you know, it was just a bit of a nightmare. So we actually didn't open our doors until the middle of August, so we lost all of those bookings through the summer.
Wow.
I know. Opened the middle of August, and then we had 6 weeks of being open, and it was really good. We're like, this is amazing. And then we went into tier 3 in October, lockdown November, and we opened December tier 3, with the government basically saying, do not go on holiday, anyone ever, to tier 3.
Just like quick kibosh on it.
I know, but you know what? I've been really proactive with. So we're legally not allowed to take any tourists. We can only stay open if it's like emergency sort of housing or contractors, people in between house moves. So I've been doing quite a lot of Facebook advertising, just free, you know, just on my Facebook, putting into the property groups, you know, our website, what we offer, and we're doing set rates where it's a lot cheaper than if they paid by the night. We're just saying you can stay, this is what we're charging per month, and doing it that way. So we're not full, but we're covering ourselves on both blocks. So we're not, I wouldn't say, oh, you know, we're making tons of money from it, but it is what it is, and it's fine, and it'll pass. So it's just sort of, I think there's so many people in the same situation. It'll be fine once it clears. I think next year probably the best year we'll ever have. You know, people want a holiday.
I was just going to say, people will be so eager. They'll be so eager to go on holiday, and there'll be a lot of people who won't want to get on a plane. So there'll be so many people, you know, in the UK. But that, I'll tell you what though, that just talking through that really makes me think about having a diverse portfolio and having different income streams and everything like that. Because if you were completely reliant on service accommodation, you would have had a completely different experience. You wouldn't have been so kind of, you know, ready to say, actually, it's for a few months and then it will pass and then we'll get back on track. You wouldn't have, you know, been in a position to say that, really.
I know, and I know people that only have serviced accommodation. that's all they have.
Yeah.
And it's, it's all good. It's brilliant when it works, but it's not so good when
No,
it doesn't.
absolutely. And you see people, I see a lot of people being like you know, kind of thinking of ways around it, you know, going to people for, you know, contractors and stuff like that, or, you know, key workers and things. So, you know, people are being innovative and trying to do absolutely everything they can to make it work. But still, if you just relied on that, it would be, you'd have some sleepless nights, I think.
And that's what it is. I think the pressure would make you feel really stressed.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know about you, but like property for me is there to kind of reduce that and, you know, make me feel more comfortable and things like that, rather than adding to stresses and things like that. I don't know.
Yes.
Cool. Okay. So what first, I know you were kind of saying earlier about kind of settling down and not wanting to be on the road so much, but what kind of first sparked your interest in property in particular?
Um, so I definitely was not the type of person that watched Homes Under the Hammer.
What?
And yeah, no,
Why not?
honestly, no. Do you know, it wasn't even on my radar, property. Um, I remember working with one of my best friends. She's 10 years older than me, and we met doing panto. And I remember her saying to me, I was renting. I didn't own a property,
Yeah.
and I remember her saying to me that she owned three, her own, and then she had two little buy-to-lets. And I remember being absolutely gobsmacked and saying to her, oh my god, like how, just the whole concept of it, just I remember being in awe that she'd done it and being, but you're a singer, how have you afforded that, and had all these questions for her. That was my first sort of, and I never thought it was something possible, that I could do. And then a couple of years before getting into property, I started a business called Arbon, which is like a network marketing business. And I was totally I was pretty obsessed with it, to be honest. And the good thing about it is that I started to read business books and personal development books. And I definitely think I changed as a person from that moment. I remember being really rubbish at it to begin with. But I definitely learned quite quickly how to be savvy at business, how to get some good sales skills, and also what it really takes to build grit and be willing to work hard. That be willing to, work all day and then go out and gig and be tired. I sort of it gave me something to really get my teeth into that was different to singing. So I think I developed myself without knowing for a good few years. And then I went to a Rich Dad Poor Dad seminar.
Okay.
Solely to network. I didn't think it was about property. I thought Robert Kiyosaki could be there. Literally thought he's going to rock up to Leeds, to the Marriott in Leeds for a free seminar, and I'd get to take my picture with him. It'd be good for me. Yeah. Honestly, what an idiot.
I suppose it's one of those things you have to kind of, you have to go to these things to realise that actually it's
I went there. It was just like a 2-hour pitch from this really aggressive American boy.
I'm sure.
He was lovely, Steve, great guy, and the whole pitch was property. The whole thing was like,
oh really?
The whole pitch, it was all about property. It was just basically saying, that you can build a huge portfolio leveraging other people's money. That's the top and bottom of it. But the concept blew my mind. And about, buying properties, that whole buy below market value, add value, refinance, pull the cash out, go again. I'd never heard of anything like that in my life. I'd never ever come across it. So in those 2 hours, I was introduced to this concept that blew my mind, and I quite honestly from then never looked back. I was obsessed. I was just I just had this excitement that that excitement didn't ever leave me until now, and I'm a bit tired and I've got 2 kids and it's not as exciting as it used to be, but it that flame burned bright, let me tell you.
No, it sounds great. And do you feel like that kind of process was like, you were saying you changed quite a bit, and in terms of like seeing money and business and kind of the world a little bit differently then, by the sounds of it. I think as well, when you like a musician or something like that, I mean, I personally, I didn't think about money. I couldn't give a monkeys about money when I was doing kind of that sort of stuff, because I was just so focused on music and writing and stuff like that. I couldn't care less. So that it just didn't enter my mind until I started kind of hearing those things like you're saying about being able to recycle deposits and stuff like that. That was mind blowing for me.
Mind blowing. I know.
So you had that experience of kind of really kind of almost reinventing yourself, and kind of going on this real journey by the sounds of it. It sounds really, really cool. So when you were going through that, apart from going to meet Robert Kiyosaki and getting his photo, shaking his hands and going for cocktails with him and stuff like that, did you do any other kind of training?
So that was the start of the whole property training thing. So from there I signed up and spent £1,000 on a 3-day training, and I basically invested my life savings. So the good thing again about being a performer is because there's feast and famine, you get I was just really tight with my money, to be honest. I gave myself a budget and I stuck to it, and everything I bought was on sale, and I got very, very good at saving. So I'd actually saved 20 grand.
Oh, wow.
So I was good at saving. But I was very disciplined, very, very disciplined. And as well, I was a busy singer, so I was good at what I did, and I was always in work. When there was work, I was always willing to do it. And and when I was in Blackpool, I was doing like 3 gigs a night. So I did earn good money. It was just graft. It was a massive graft, and it was like vocally exhausting. But I did work hard, and I put the money to a side, and I never knew what it was there for, really. I just saved it and then spent it on property training.
But it sounds like it's done you a lot of good. Do you think the training actually helped, or a lot of people say that it was more about the network that they developed from the training, or do you actually think the training itself helped?
I think a mixture of both. I think the mentor I had a mentor for 3 days that came to Blackpool and looked at property with me, and that was an absolute game changer for me. I think that it's hard to know, because I don't know where I'd be without going and doing the training. But it's when I look back now to how much knowledge I have now, I just think, God, I just wouldn't have even known where to start had I have not done that training. I can't remember a lot of it, but I'm sure it made a massive impact on me at the time. It's hard because it was so long ago, but I just wouldn't have known where to start and how to do it. And it gave me a lot of confidence as well, because when you I feel like you have confidence when you think you know what you're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'd be like, I've been on a training. I know what I'm talking about because I paid a lot of money to learn this stuff. Do it just gave me that confidence, whereas otherwise I think I'd be like, I don't know, I'd just be winging it, and I just wouldn't be where I am.
And you might at some point, but it's probably cut that kind of time from learning it to achieving it down quite a bit by the sounds of it as well. That's really cool. So it's always one of those things that some people are dead against kind of paying a lot of money for training. Other people absolutely swear by it, say that it cuts down the time from the time to achieve your goals by half, or whatever. So it's always really interesting to hear about different people's experience from the training that they do, because it varies a lot. It does vary a lot, and I'm sure it's a lot of it is the kind of people you end up being trained by, and their kind of ethos and approach and everything like that. So
and they've turned into friends. They've turned into friends for life, and also there's, I guess I take it for granted really, but I'm in property networking groups where we meet once a month. It's like a mastermind, and they're all doing massive deals. They're great people to be around. I'm on a WhatsApp group where every morning we put in 3 things we're grateful for. It's like a gratitude thing, and they're all property investors. But sometimes we'll say, oh, actually, guys, have you experienced this? And within 10 minutes, I've got an experienced investor. Yeah. Straight back, and I met them all through the same company. Like every single one of them has been through that, and we all speak the same language. We present our figures the same way. It's just we're on the same page in that respect. But it's been really beneficial, definitely, for friendships and just having people to bounce off.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think as well, when you have those people around you, it's really, really helpful. And I think one of the real benefits that some people, maybe if their kind of family were kind of business orientated, or like they came from a family where they invested in property, you're brought up around it, and you have those people to go and kind of tap into their knowledge and experience and stuff like that. But if you don't have that, you've got to find those people. You've got to
100.
find them, and you know, so then you can tap into people who you're not related to or whatever, but you know, they become
And I
really helpful.
definitely think there's more time wasters in property than there are serious people, because everyone in the world wants to be a property investor, don't they? There's like 1,000,001 people that say they're a property investor, and they've got one house that they bought 10 years ago. So it's not easy to find the people that actually are doing this full time, that have big scalable businesses. You know, they're not, you're not going to bump into them,
No,
really.
no.
You know what I mean? Even when you go to property, like, you know, just you go to like a property networking event where you pay a tenner, 90% of the people there are not really invested in property. They like the idea of it, but you're not going to be bumping into the, you know, the real movers and groovers, because they're busy buying houses.
Yeah, absolutely. I
You know what
mean,
I mean?
I've been to a few of those networking events, and there's a lot of very new people who are trying to they're kind of dipping their toe in the water, I think, which is great. It's great for that, but yeah, like you say, you're not going to be rubbing shoulders with people who have got, you know, massive portfolios, because like you say, they're out there buying houses. So yeah, so then like, you know, so the training, for instance, is a great way to get in a room or in a kind of WhatsApp group or whatever with people who are doing those things, who you'll get massive benefits from being around or kind of having kind of contact with. So yeah, no, it's great.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's one of the reasons I started this podcast, to be honest, because I don't come from a background where there's lots of investors and stuff like that. So being able to speak to people like yourself and other people who are, you know, a little bit further along or a lot further along than I am, it's absolutely invaluable for me. And hopefully hearing what you and other people have done in the past will hopefully help other people who listen in. So yeah, I think it's really, really invaluable and helpful. And yeah, it's really good.
And do you know what else I think, just to add to it as well? When you're around it, or, you know, as a lot, it becomes the norm.
Mhm.
So it's normal, you know, to be with people that are raising finance to do deals, and it's
Yeah.
just normal to have deals. I'm going to be doing flips, and sometimes, because you have to be self-motivated, you know, sometimes that I feel most inspired by what other people do. So sometimes if I'm feeling like a bit, I'll just say, someone tell me something you've done recently, because I feel what they show me what's possible. Even, you know,
Yeah.
even if they're not doing loads, if they say, oh, I sourced a deal last week, I go, great, there's deals out there, because they've just
Yeah.
sourced a deal. I mean, just that's enough to change my whole thinking. By someone saying I sourced a deal last week will make me go, well, I can source one then, because they've just done it, so there must still be deals there, so I'll go and do it as well.
I think that's something I've really noticed about property people. They're happy when other people are being successful. They're getting those deals and stuff like that. Whereas I think there's a lot of people that I kind of have met over the years. They can't bear it when somebody else is doing well, and I think it's a really, really nice kind of world in that respect, because people do want to see other people doing well, because like you're saying, it means that there's deals, it means that there's kind of
Yeah,
success
it's
to have and things
inspiring.
like that.
It's amazing. Yeah, I love it. I love it when my friends are doing big deals. I'm like, oh yes, tell me about it. Like, it's just, yeah, it's exciting and it's inspiring, and
It is
it's a lovely
inspiring.
community.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, totally agree. So you were talking about being mentored and being trained and stuff like that, and I understand you mentor people and coach people, and
Yeah.
which sounds very, very exciting. So, you know, what do you like most about it? Do you like seeing people getting those deals and, you know, developing, and yeah, what's your kind of favorite thing about it?
So my favorite thing is seeing people grow into
Yeah,
I love nothing more than when I can spot what someone's block is, and I can say that's the thing that's holding you back, and then setting them the task of, so this is what I want you to do to get past that block, and
yeah.
then watching them go through it and seeing them grow as people and as business owners as well, to get those wins.
Yeah, absolutely. And what do you, I mean, I'm sure it's different for every person, but is there a common thing that kind of holds people back?
Yeah, 100%. Analysis paralysis.
Okay. Yeah.
Definitely. Definitely. It's you've got, I think, I sort of observed two different types of people. So you've people, when this, I was in this category, people that are a bit too enthusiastic, a bit too eager, and a bit overexcited, and they're just jumping on deals, and they're out there and they're doing it. They're making loads of mistakes, and they're looking stupid sometimes, but they're doing it, even if they're doing it wrong. And you sort of like, you're trying to hold them back a bit because you're like, oh God, you could sort of see there's a bit of a car crash and you're like, oh God, this is gonna, so you're trying to reel them in, you're trying to slow them down, and they're going, I found this land, and you're like, oh God. I found 5 HMOs, and everyone's like, slow down. So there's that type, and then there's the other type, which are like, I've got my spreadsheets, and what I've done is I've made another spreadsheet, and I've gone through all the properties for sale, and what I've done is I've listed from top to bottom those expensive selling houses all the way through to the lease, and they never view. And I'm like, have you viewed any houses? Have you done anything that's going to make you any money? And they don't do anything that is so I call it like income producing activities. There's like a few things you need in property. It's going to make you money. One of them is going out and viewing houses. And sometimes there's people that they won't even pick up the phone to book a viewing in, because they're thinking, well, what will the estate agent think? Because I haven't got any money. So, what will they think? Do I need to raise the money first? But then what will they think? Because I haven't, I haven't got deals. And it's just that constant, and it's all in their head. And I want to just shake them and go, just go and view some houses and then we can talk. So it's like two extreme people. You've got to try and balance them out and get the people that are really analytical to let go of the spreadsheet and get in the car and go and view some houses. And then you've got the people that are going wild and you just want to show them a spreadsheet going, can I refer you back to the spreadsheet so we can just, the numbers aren't working for you. It's like, it's that.
So is it that the people, those people have to kind of, either kind of navigate towards a spreadsheet and, navigate towards viewings, or are they good as teams? What?
Yeah, amazing as teams.
Yeah.
Amazing teams. Yeah. Perfect team.
Yeah. That's what I always think, because nobody's good at everything. And it's always that kind of trying to find people who can do the things you're rubbish at really well, and kind of 100%. Trying to connect those people. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, no, I'm sure. Oh yeah. I read way too many books when I started about this.
Is that you?
yeah. I tied it up one of the first early days when I was trying to get my head around it all. I read a ridiculous amount of books.
Well, that's great. See, we would have been perfect business partners
because you were out there. Yeah.
And I'd be out finding deals, and you'd be like, but in my book it says you can't really do that.
But for me, it's just like I didn't want to make a mistake, and I still have that. I do have that, and I know that it's something I need to work on. But it's that whole thing.
Because there's always a mistake to be had.
Oh, I'm sure. Okay. And what's your kind of proudest moment so far? Of your kind of, from your mentees, or the people you've helped and coached.
I would probably say, I'm not going to name her, but there's a lady that I've been working with that she's quite recent with me as well. I've been working for probably 4 or 5 months, and I spotted that. So she likes what can I say? She likes a job, but she hates her boss.
Oh yeah.
She feels very undervalued, and the trouble about him is he makes her cry.
Oh, okay.
And every time we had a coaching session, I noticed that this kept coming up for her. And anyway, we've worked together, and she's now handing a notice in January, leaving. She's going to be full-time in property, and she's the best type of person, because she has a little bit of both. She's has a lot of fear, but she'll do it anyway. So if I say to her, I want you to ring 10 landlords, like she'll message me going, I know you said to do it, but I'm feeling really scared. And I'll voice note and go, do it, and tell me what happens after the first 2 calls. And she'll go, I've got a viewing booked in. And I'll go, keep going. And she'll do it. She won't make excuses. She'll just do it. Right. And she's getting some big results. But that's down to her. I would say, like, I can coach people, but all her success is down to her, because she's doing it.
And I'm sure you could have said that to a couple of different people, and they would have just sat on their hands and not done a thing. So yeah, it's totally
It's
taking
on
action, isn't it?
her. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I can't remember who said it now, but I can't think who it was. But with so much information out there and everything like that, and he said something like, if information was all you needed, everybody would have a six pack and be like multimillionaires.
The Slight Edge.
Was
Jeff
it?
Olson.
Okay, yeah. So knowing stuff and being told stuff isn't enough, is it? You have to actually take action and do it. So yeah,
That's right.
I love
It's
that.
so.
Yeah.
Mm.
Cool. Okay. Have you got kind of 3 tips for people to help them invest around their day jobs?
So my 3 tips would be to know exactly why you're doing this, so that when you are working late nights or you're missing out on barbecues, when we're allowed to go to barbecues, when you're missing out on, watching your favourite team at the pub or whatever, because you are sacrificing that time to go and view houses or you meet builders and all of that stuff, just make sure that you know why, and give yourself rewards, because I think that in property, I think it can become very serious quite quickly, and people lose the fun of it, and people forget why they're doing it. So give yourself little rewards, like, when you complete on your first house, buy yourself a nice bottle of champagne and enjoy it, and book a mini break, and just make it so that it doesn't feel like you're constantly working, because you will need to work hard to begin with, but still make it fun and make it, you don't. And what I did is I made myself ill that I worked so hard, and looking back, I probably wouldn't have changed it, because that was who I was at the time. But it's no good,
No.
running yourself into the ground. And that is, I just ran myself into the ground. And so I'd say to people, you don't need to do it as fast as I did it. I don't know why I did it so fast. I didn't need to do it. There's no reason why I had to do it at that speed. It was just something in my nature where I just wanted to. But
You're
actually,
excited, by the sounds of it. You were excited
I
and
was
you just
very
wanted to get it
excited.
done. Yeah.
Just get it done. I was really excited. But really, there's no rush. There's no, just enjoy it. So yeah, know why you're doing it. Celebrate your wins. And know that it is okay. Actually, this sort of gives me some peace sometimes, when sometimes you do have a bad day. Sometimes you get some. I'll have days, honestly, where I'll have 4 emails, and it'll be, the boiler's broke, there's a leak in this property, the damp patch has come back on blooming blah blah, and I literally am like, oh my god, why is this happening today? And then tomorrow will be great. But just knowing that if you have a bad day, everyone does. There's no one that's got it all figured out, and it's not perfect for anyone. It's just, property isn't perfect. I just think it's better than most other ways of making money.
Yeah.
It's not perfect.
Yeah.
It's just better. That's all it is.
I'd agree. It is better.
Yeah,
they're great. They're really, really good tips. And I think a lot of people will love to hear a couple of those, definitely. Because I think everyone struggles, especially,
God, yeah.
You don't know what's kind of right and things like that sometimes. So rewarding yourself as well. Yeah.
The amount of times I've said to my husband, I'm not buying anymore. I don't want any more. And I've been I'm not doing property anymore. And then a week later I found a deal. And he's like, you bought, we do. It just never ends. It's just all in your head.
It's like, property, addicted to property, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
Cool. Have you got any kind of favorite kind of business or property books that really inspired you, or you go back to, that sort of thing?
Oh, I've read loads over the years. It's funny, because the books that I read when I started are totally different to the types of books I read now. So when I started, it was all very like the Success Principles and the Slight Edge, and it was all very like, gritty books about how you should work really hard and sacrifice. It was all those types of books.
Yeah.
But now I'm a bit more hippie now. I read books that are a bit more about like the universe and law of attraction. This is a good one. You Are a Badass by Jen Sinclair. Really good one. How to Stop Doubting Your Greatness and Start Living an Awesome Life. Great. So The Universe Has Got Your Back. That's a really good one. The Universe. I think that's Gabriella Gabrielle, can't remember. The universe has your back.
And do you think do you think those different types of books appeal to you because you're at different kind of stages in your kind of career, or whatever you'd like to call it, your journey, all those different terms for people?
Yeah.
So, I mean, like, going back to when you were reading them early on, they're kind of a little bit grittier, like you're saying. And maybe, is it because you needed that point? And if you'd have read the kind of hippie books then, you'd have, like, I don't know, they wouldn't have connected,
Yeah.
or I don't know.
Oh, if I read the hippie books then, I'd have been on a plane to Bali. It would have
Yeah,
been the wrong
you could jump
advice
on
for
a
me.
beach somewhere, which is okay.
Exactly.
Which is okay.
Yeah.
That's a choice.
Well, so at the time I was a very, very creative and very like on my feelings. I don't feel like this today, because I was a muso. So I needed to learn how to be disciplined and how to turn up on time and to, do all that stuff. So I think that's why I needed those books. But then as the years have gone on, I've got really disciplined and, and now I'm sort of like, okay, come on, you can chill out a bit now and you don't need to be that way anymore. I sort of know what I need to do, and now I'm like venturing back to, I want to start using the creative side of my brain a bit more and just get back to like a bit more of how I used to be. So that's why I'm reading like the hippie books and just I think everyone just wants to, I think what I've realised is through property and through business, doesn't matter where you are in life, I think what most people want is to feel peace.
Yeah, I totally connect with this, because I almost felt like I was brainwashing myself when I was first getting into it, like, learning about property and business and stuff like that, because it wasn't me. So I genuinely feel like I intentionally brainwashed myself like away from how I used to think. And like I think I'll do exactly what you're talking about, is once I've got a certain number, I'll kind of
You've got
return to my
absolutely.
nature sort of thing. But yeah, no, I definitely get where you're coming from, though. Definitely. So what did you get any support from family and things like that when you're building your portfolio, or kind of did you just do it on your own and with the support of like training and things like that, or did you kind of
Well, my mum and dad thought it was a scam, and standard. They got my accountant as well, who's like they've known him for like 100 years. He's like a family friend. They got him to ring me and tell me that the whole thing was a scam, and to be, he wouldn't advise me against it and all of this stuff. So I was really scared, because I was like, why is a respected accountant telling me this? So it really knocked me, but then I decided to do it anyway. So not huge amounts of support, really.
So you got a lot of tenacity then. Yeah.
I think though, this is one thing I really respect about performers, that we're used to rejection. I think when you've been to a certain amount of auditions and been rejected, or you get a sort of thing, you do get quite a tough skin, and sort of compared to that, putting in a few cheeky offers is nothing really.
Yeah, no, totally get where you're coming from with that. Yeah, I think musicians get a bit of a bad rap in terms of being like thought of as a bit lazy and things like that. I mean, you put in the hours. You do a lot of like traveling, and no kind of thanks or money and stuff like that for a lot of it. And yeah.
And performers as well, like I don't think people realise, but we're really taking, I still talk as a performer, but really taken advantage of. It's the only industry where you turn up somewhere and they say you're going to do this for free because this could be an opportunity for you, so
all
can
that rubbish. Yeah,
all that rubbish, and you can pay your own travel, and also if you could lose a stone, that would be amazing.
See, I didn't have that, but yeah. That was the
only industry where you can literally, like, your agent, I'd have like an agent ringing me going, you've got to get to London tomorrow. I'd be like, oh, it's like there's a lot of money now because we've left it too late to book the train. Well, she really wants to see you. This choreographer really wants to see you. She picture out. Right, I get there, walk through the door, and within 2 minutes she cuts everyone that's got dark hair.
Oh God, they could have told you.
Way from Blackpool to London.
Yeah,
She's seen a picture. I've got black hair. I've never had blonde hair. I've never been a blonde. Literally, no. And it's that as well. No, like you've like what something that you've done is absolutely disgusting. Like you've, had a poo on a floor or something. No, oh no, too
That
small.
is
No,
harsh.
no.
That is harsh.
Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly.
I remember going to a big management agency, and it's not as far, obviously, just from Northamptonshire. Went down to London, and we went into like the Goldfish Bowl, like a big office in the middle, and they're kind of milling around and stuff. And we just sat there for like ages and ages and ages, and we heard our songs being played out there, kind of in the office, and we just sat there for donkeys, like hours, like, and they just came in and just said, "Oh, yeah, when you've got some new stuff, you be interested, like, get in touch." That was it. It's like, bugger off. It's
Yeah,
like, such a cheek. And like,
absolutely.
obviously, you kind of go down there thinking, oh, this is good. They're
You
managed
think you
big
think
names.
that every audition could be the one,
Yeah, well,
and
yeah, you grow out of that a little bit, don't you? But yeah, totally. It's yeah, no, they are. It is a cheeky industry, and that's what I like about this, like, property as well. It doesn't feel anywhere near as like manipulative and like harsh and stuff like that as music. But
it's so straightforward, really. Like the numbers are numbers. The numbers don't lie. I quite like that about property. It's pretty straightforward. And the only time I think when people do bad deals, it's because they either don't understand the numbers, they haven't done their due diligence and their research correctly, or they're being too optimistic and they're kidding themselves.
yeah,
Do you know? But if you're quite grounded, I think property is pretty straightforward, really. If you're quite grounded and you're quite reasonable with your figures and what things cost, it's pretty, you sort of get, it doesn't go off too much. It's sort of like within that, you're
yeah,
pretty,
that bracket, yeah, that envelope.
yeah.
Yeah, cool. So thinking back to all those years, especially, I bet. What's the worst job you've ever had? Because I always think I've probably done the worst jobs out of people I have on this podcast, but you might beat me.
Oh no, I reckon I've had a worse one. So my worst job I've ever done. Well, I've done all the promo stuff where you're like standing half naked at football matches, handing out leaflets and stuff. I've done all that. But the worst one, hands down, was when I was living in London and I was in an original band, and I couldn't make enough money to keep afloat, because you'll know this, I'm sure, in an original band you don't really get paid. You have to
Right.
pay the venues.
Yeah, yeah, because that's
So
what I did. I was always in original bands, and the money was just pretty much non-existent. Yeah.
don't make money. Yeah, so it was really hard because I could make money going out as a cover singer. So I'd want to do that, but then I was in an original band, and they lived in London with the parents, and they didn't have the same need for cash as the way I did. They were sort of supported by their family, but I had to earn money to pay my rent. So I needed to do both, and it was really hard managing that. And so there was always a shortfall. I couldn't quite get it to work. And I was even like traveling up to Blackpool and doing gigs just to try and make sure I had enough, which is just nuts, really. So my worst job is I would work as a shop girl on like basically when I didn't have gigs, I would do Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and there's nothing wrong with being a shop girl. Actually,
No, no,
that's fine.
yeah.
There's nothing wrong with it. What was wrong with it is the way that I was treated.
Mm,
I was treated terribly. I was treated terribly even by the people that employed me. And it really surprises me, because when I look back now, I was like 24, 25, and the girls that employed me must have only been about 30, 34 themselves, if that, early 30s. But I remember them saying things to me like, are you going to grow your hair because men don't like short hair? Can you, honestly? And I'd be like, I'm not a stripper, pal.
yeah.
Honest to God. And they'd say, would you consider wearing a wig? And I'd be like, I'm selling shots. No, no, like I'm not wearing a wig. And as well, I remember they'd make us wear like really short skirts, burlesque style outfits,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I'd be selling shots in like Covent Garden, and I'd always put on black tights. So it was like leggings
yeah, yeah.
underneath. And they used to always say, you've got to take your tights off, and I never would. But they couldn't do anything because I was really good at selling shots. So I would always do
That's really
really
good.
well. Well, they always
what's the
wanted
problem?
to, exactly, but they always wanted their girls to look as, as fleshy as possible, and just, yeah, that was the
Bit sleazy.
most.
It's a bit
The,
sleazy, really, isn't it? Yeah, in terms of like how you were treated and
the
stuff like that.
whole thing, like, women would give you daggers, women would, not all of them, some women were lovely, but there would be a lot of women that would just look at you like that, ugh. And then men would be, feeling your bum, and the whole environment. I used to hate it so much that I would go to the toilet and I'd time myself and I'd go, I'll just have 10 minutes sitting in here, and no, I'll just have 10 minutes. And then I go and do 15 minutes, you can go back in the toilet. And I would do it in little slots where I'd like give myself little challenges where if I sell 10, I could spend another half an hour hiding in the toilets.
That's
That's how bad it was.
That's bad. That's a bad one. You're
Really,
you're definitely up there. You're definitely up there in terms of having a rubbish job.
really bad. Honestly, I probably just should have been a stripper because I'd have earned a lot more money.
Well, well, I mean, people make those choices, don't they? So you could have. But, cool. Okay, that's good. That's good. Cool. Okay, so if you could speak to your 18-year-old self, what advice would you give them?
Oh, I would have, I would have said, it's really cheesy. I would have told myself how good I was as a singer. Because I just didn't know, and it's only now I look back, and it makes me feel really sad that I had such like self-loathing as a performer. I think you're so critical. I was so critical of myself that even I've deleted all my show reels and everything.
Yeah.
Yeah, like really
Wow.
sad. Like, and I
Very
just
sad.
think, and I know, and now I'm older and I don't do it anymore. I don't have anything to show my boys. Like, I've got a little, I'd love to go look at mummy in the shows, but I've bloody deleted it all. Just where I've gone, oh, I can't watch myself, I'm cringy, and I've just, I'm someone somewhere will have loads
I
of
was just gonna
like,
say, yeah,
it will be.
there must be records somewhere.
Yeah, I've got recordings, but it's not the same. I don't
No,
have
no, I
like,
mean, yeah, yeah.
do you know what
There
I
must
mean?
be
Like,
a,
I had a
there must
show
be a
reel
copy
put together of me dancing and performing, and I just must have gone one day, don't like this, and deleted it, and not thought of the implications of getting older. So one thing I would have said to myself is, you're really good, be nice to yourself. And and I used to go to auditions for the West End, and before I'd even walked in the room, I would have already said to myself, you're not good enough for this.
talked yourself out of it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'd
But
look at all the girls and I'd be so intimidated by the other girls. I wouldn't stand at the front. I'd, I had the whole mindset of it wrong, and that I had all the right skills, but my mindset was so wrong. That's the one thing I would have said. I would have gone, you need to read The Secret.
yeah, I've not read it, but I've heard it's yeah, very good. But
I just think
I think as a, like you were saying, as a performer, you're so exposed. You're so exposed, and yeah, you feel it. Especially when you competing basically with other people, and yeah, that was
yeah,
I was so competitive. I was so competitive when I was in bands and stuff like that. I used to turn up every night thinking, I've got this room, and it was
yeah.
very much like, yeah, I was so competitive.
Oh.
It was.
What did you do in the band? Were you a singer?
I was originally I was a drummer, and then I left that, and yeah, I became a singer and
Oh,
songwriter.
amazing.
I was so competitive though, like arsehole level, like I was so competitive.
Yeah, but that's good. See, I wish I'd been a bit more like that.
Oh yeah, but it didn't. It didn't help. And my other thing, looking back, like I was so competitive, but also I was never satisfied. If people approached and said, we want to work with you, I was very much like, I want a major, and that was always my thing. I want a major. I was just kind of very much, yeah.
I was never satisfied as well. I was
Yeah,
never
never
satisfied.
satisfied.
Every job I had was never good enough.
Mm,
It was never, I always wanted more. Always wanted more. And I was never, ever okay with what I was doing. And not even, that thing of like, as a performer, if I walked off stage and someone didn't approach me and tell me how bloody brilliant I was fuming. Why has no one up and told me? Why have they not said? They did not see me? Did it? That whole thing. I'm glad I don't have any of that anymore.
yeah, absolutely.
Oh,
Yeah, no, it's a funny old world, isn't it? It is a funny old world. But I think like you're right in terms of the work. Kind of you have to have a really high work ethic and that kind of thick skin and stuff. I think it does help. Especially in kind of property and stuff where putting in a cheeky offer. It's all right.
oh God, what's that? I mean, in comparison
Yeah.
to all the other stuff he does before me, it's just nothing. Yeah.
No, absolutely. Cool. Okay. Well, it's lovely chatting, but obviously we're going to bore the podcast listeners to
I know.
carry on.
I know.
But so be great to kind of keep in touch and like see what you're up to and stuff like that. But where can other people find you?
So I'm most active on Instagram. If they want to follow me there, and it's The Good Life _property investor.
That's great, and I'll make sure the links in the show notes and stuff like that. But for now, that's it. That's the interview, and thank you so much for coming on. And it's been great to talk to somebody who's had the experience of being in the kind of mixed world of performing and things like that, because there's not many people. But yeah, it's been great to chat. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening to my podcast, and I really hope you enjoyed it. If you have, please leave me a 5-star review to help other people find it, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button.